Hi there, everyone. My name is Colin McAllister. I am the Group Training and Development Manager from the John Clark Motor Group, and I'm also responsible for Motability for the group. I've been passionately engaged with Motability for over 20 years now. I just love seeing people getting their freedom and their independence back and introducing them to worry-free motoring. We're going to be going through this session, telling you more and more about the scheme. I also have with me from Motability, Chris Edwards. Chris, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi there, everybody. Yep, my name is Chris Edwards. I'm from Motability Operations. I've been a scheme customer for 32 years now. So I'm generally a Motability expert. There isn't anything I can't answer the question of. Yet to be proven, but we'll see what happens today. But so far, that has been true. So
that sounds like a challenge there, John Clark customers. Let's catch them out. Let's see if you can get them there. So yeah, Chris is going to take you through an overview of how the scheme works. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the commonly asked questions that we get asked on our live chat, on our email, and also face-to-face in my experience as a mobility specialist. So really, we want to try and catch Chris out. And you can catch him out using the fantastic hashtag AskJC Motability, and we'll be flagging that all the way through. We're going to use that on an ongoing basis so that you can interact with us on questions about the scheme, not just when we're doing these podcasts, but all the time, and we'll come back and answer them for you. So Chris, if you'd like to give us an overview of the scheme, that'd be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, no problem with that at all. So as some of you may be aware, some of the information that I'm giving you, you're already aware of, but for those of you that perhaps maybe haven't used the scheme before, the Motability is a car leasing scheme that allows you to use your mobility benefit that you receive from the Department of Work and Pensions, be that there's four main allowances, which are either the disability living allowance, the personal independence payments, the war pensioners supplement, or the armed forces independent payment. And if you receive the enhanced level of that allowance, then you can actually use that to lease a car with the Motability scheme. And that may be a wheelchair accessible vehicle or a standard production car, depending on your needs. And there's such a huge range of cars to choose from, right from, say, a Nissan Micra up to a VW Transporter. There's such a huge range of vehicles across all manufacturers and a really exciting car choice and spec level. I mean, as I say, I've been on the scheme 32 years myself, and I've had some fantastic cars.
What's your favorite?
Favorite? I'd have to say the most recent favorite car I've had is a Skoda. I had the Skoda Kodiaq, which I truly loved. Unfortunately, because the supply issue is recently come off the scheme, but I'm sure it will come back. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it with the space, and the spec level was fantastic. But if I'm going to hanker back to my youth, I did also have back in the day before children, a Fiat Stilo R Bath back in the day, which was 2.5 litre and quite incredible. So that was probably back in my youth. So I've had some exciting cars as well. But
I was expecting you to talk about that Mini that you used to have.
Yeah. I've been there. There's all kinds of cars that I've had on the scheme, but I think that's the beauty of it, is you can chop and change as your needs change. I mean, the scheme's been there right with me from school up to through when I became a parent. And then, the car I had wasn't appropriate, and I changed it to a more family-centric vehicle because of my needs, and the scheme has supported me all the way through. And I think that's the biggest thing with perhaps people that are considering, why would I lease from Motability over, say, a private lease or something like that? And it's everything that you get, the everyday freedom that you get with the scheme. So, for example, you have your insurance covered, you have all the maintenance, all the servicing, tyres are taken care of by Quick Fit, windscreen taken care of by Autoglass. And it's the fact that you can either phone your local dealer and you get support, or you phone us at Motability and we will support you all the way through. And it is just worry free. And I think that's the beauty of it. There's very few situations nowadays where you can say everything's taken care of and it's a one-stop shop and you don't have to worry about it. So, because some of the private leases, for example, might not have the mileage that we have, which is 20,000 miles a year, or 60,000 miles over the 3 years, which you yourself, Colin, you'll know that's an incredible amount of mileage when you're talking about a leasing scheme there at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, we had a customer who had to get a hip replacement, and they were having to go to Warrington, which was a specialist hospital for the type of hip that they needed. And they were worried about the mileage, and it was great because they could go from Aberdeen down to Warrington for the treatments, and they weren't worrying about going over that mileage. You know, it's only going to be this year as well, so you've got that 60,000 miles over the 3 years. I get it. You might have done 24,000 one year, but you drop back to 14 the next. So as long as you've come in under the 60, there's no need to worry. So if you are having to get specialist treatment like she was, then it was just there for her. It was terrific. The other thing, which is a really common question, I'm glad you hit it up front, was what happens if I need change? Can I change in my car? And again, it's yes, you can change your car. You don't need to wait for the 3-year lease to finish.
Totally. I think one of the main ways I sort of perhaps put it into context is I will quite often say to somebody who's considering the scheme for the first time is private leasing, they would consider the car to be the asset, whereas at Motability, they consider the customer to be the asset. That is the big difference. So it's vital for Motability to consider what vehicle you've got, and that is meeting your needs. Now, ultimately, if you were to contact them and say, I don't like the color of this car anymore, that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
But if we're saying my needs have changed, for example, a very common situation may well be that you're perfectly fine with a manual and you're getting on okay, and then your condition may change slightly and you find sort of a couple of years into your lease, actually you can't cope with the gear changing and things are in that point, and you would contact us and just say, my condition has deteriorated, I can't cope with the manual vehicle anymore, I need to look at an automatic. And we would discuss that with you and discuss your best options going forward. But ultimately, we would arrange for what we call an early termination of your contract. That older vehicle would come back and your new vehicle would be picked up to meet your disability needs. And we would discuss that with you and work with the dealer and make sure that the next vehicle you chose, we were perhaps considering things that you might need across the next 3 years. So it might not only be the automatic, we might say, do you think you might be needing a wheelchair in that time? So let's think about the boot. And, we try and look at all the options so that the customer doesn't have to be put back into this situation another 18 months down the line. So, but it's about getting that need and meeting that customer's disability need to keep them as worry-free and as with the best form of transport as they can, really.
One of the things I think is incredible about that as well, when a customer has done an early termination and moving it in a different vehicle because their needs have changed, is quite frequently they get a pro rata refund of their advance payment. And
yes, totally.
Your expenses have gone up because you're having to, maybe get a wheelchair, or you're maybe having to attend more appointments. And so your costs have gone up. And then all of a sudden you're getting maybe £300-400 pro rata refund from your advance payment back. And that's a big help.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't really consider it, but the advance payment isn't really tied into the car, it's tied into the lease itself. So when we calculate it for you, we'll look at what that car costs, what the residual value is at the end, and what the cost is over the 3-year period. So if you're ending that early, then the amount that's left of that advance payment, which is spread across the lease, that gets returned back to you, and it's very quick. And it's about, again, it's putting customer first, which is what we're all about. We're very customer centric, and it is the customer above all, really, at the end of the day.
Superb. A couple of other questions. You've covered what's included. You've got your insurance, you've got your servicing, your repairs, your maintenance, you've got the tyres, you've got the windscreen as well, and even your road tax. So the only thing you've got to do is just fuel it and drive it and have fun. But lots of people say, well, I don't personally drive. Can I have other drivers drive me around or go for errands for me?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, we actually, it's around about a third of our customers don't drive at all, and they will have a range of drivers. So we have different options, but with having 3 named drivers on the insurance, it gives you lots of flexibility. And a lot of customers that we'll talk to, even though they don't drive, like the fact that when a friend might come to take them out, they know that it's their vehicle, they're covering the fuel, they're doing their bit. They're not so reliant on that person who's taking them out. So they feel in more control of the situation, and ultimately it's the best solution for the vehicle that they're getting into. It may be that the friend has a vehicle that they just physically can't use, so it's meeting all their needs. And a lot of customers are in that situation where they've got the car on the drive and they're driven on a frequent basis to all the things they want to do and gets them out and about, which is absolutely superb at the end of the day.
I experienced that firsthand. So my grandmother was paralysed on the left-hand side, and she didn't drive. She got a Nissan Micro in the scheme, and I had this crazy 1275 GT Mini that I used to drive around in. And so I would go over, and then she'd say, "Oh, can you take me shopping?" And she couldn't get in and out of the Mini; it just was not practical. But she in and out of the Micro, we would go away shopping, get all our stuff in it, bring it back. And then she loved it because it was a day out, and it was but you're absolutely right. She was like a big song and dance about. She's paying for the fuel, she's paying for the shopping, she's contributing to everything on there, because she was really quite a proud person. Didn't
Understandable.
Want to be, oh, I don't want to be sponging. And I was like, listen, it's a pleasure to take you out. It's brilliant, and it was cool for me. So I got to drive a brand new car, and I was actually going to make the shops rather than having to carry a toolkit in the boot of my Mini everywhere.
No, but this is what it's all about. It's about independence and meeting those needs, and everybody's situation is different. So, and it's what we're all so passionate about, both at Motability and also at John Clark. And I think that's the relationship we have between Motability, the customers, and yourselves, the dealers. I think it's fantastic. And everybody I talk to is so passionate about meeting that need. I think this is really what makes it stand out above a lot of things, really.
Yeah. A lot of the questions we get, like, you talked about how many cars you've had on the scheme and the variety. And, there's not very many of our customers actually that have nil deposit. And a lot of people are obsessed with nil deposit and advertising nil deposit. We find it's actually about 13% of our customers that get a vehicle on nil deposit. But I had a quick look at the weekend. Do you know there's some fabulous vehicles? You mentioned the Skoda Kodiaq. Its little brother, the Kamiq, which is a fantastic car, is available at nil deposit. Its sister, the Seat Arona, is actually available nil deposit with an automatic. Obviously, this is the current quarter here in 2021. So it's going to change quarter by quarter. But I couldn't believe how fabulous the range was. There's electric vehicles on there at nil deposit. It's stunning. What a fantastic choice.
Yeah, and ultimately, like we're saying, not everybody has that nil deposit, but what it does do by having that starting at the nil and then working through the derivatives you've got, you can decide what features you'd like to have on your car. I mean, me, just like every other person, I like having my toys on my car. I like having those nice things. I like things like Android Auto on my car. I do like a heated seat, makes a difference in my life. So it depends what you need and what your needs are. I mean, I like having a powered boot, for example, because once that boot disappears above my head, I can't reach it again. So if it's powered, I'm fine. If it's not, I've got a problem. So, from that point of view, everybody knows what they like, and this is about the customer being able to make an informed choice, and they know they can put a little bit more towards the car to get that nice vehicle that they want, that little bit of extra luxury. And why shouldn't we, as disabled people, be able to choose the vehicle that we're most comfortable with at the end of the day?
Absolutely. That's a key thing about the scheme. It's that choice, and it's about equality and inclusion. It's about everybody being able to choose the type of car that suits them. I love a power boot because I always carry in loads of stuff. But the power boot, as you say, once it's over your head, you can't use that button anymore or get to it. So that's a really, really important feature on there. And that, again, that's why we have our trained Motability specialists in our sites that are used to having people with those type of needs, and saying, one of the things that's popular with wheelchair users is this, and one of the things that's and so that they can actually recommend. And I'd say to customers, to always seek out your Motability specialist and get an appointment with them. They've been specially trained, they've been specially accredited, and they have to get accredited on a regular basis. So we're making sure that they're looking after you. And a lot of our specialists are equally passionate about it as I am. They really do enjoy getting a customer in a vehicle that they know is going to suit them and hopefully fit for the longer term. And it's one of the great joys is when you see that customer coming back for the next car from you, you know you got it right. You feel looked after them properly, that they've trusted you enough for a second car or a third car or a fourth car. That's a huge compliment. So I think this is a question I got actually from somebody recently, and what happens if I break down?
Well, this is all part of the package. So we do have full roadside assistance with the RAC included in the package. So we actually have a team that just deals with Motability within the RAC, and they're aware, that we might have specific needs and that sort of thing. So if you break down on the side of the road, I mean, I've done it. I've hit a pothole and wrecked a tire, and you're there at the side of the road. What do? The RAC came out. They changed the tire, put their, because we've all got inflation kits and all kinds of things. So the RAC had a tire. They put it on the car. They followed me to Quick Fit. Quick Fit changed and repaired the tire, put it all on, and then RAC go off with their wheel. So it really was full onward mobility, definite support there, and you can't really fault it. But I mean, I've been in a situation where, the vehicle's not been able to be repaired at the roadside, whatever the issue is. And because of the arrangement we have with the RAC arranged for a taxi for me, came and picked me up, took me home, and then the RAC arranged for the car to go into the dealership, took it to the dealership. Dealership then contacted me when everything was sorted out and the car came back. So you can't really fault it. I'm not sat there for hours on end at the side of the road going, what am I going to do? I'm back home. Everybody else is taking care of it. And then when it's all sorted, I get a phone call from the dealer saying, we're all sorted and ready to go. So you can't really fault it, can you, at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had customers as well where they've maybe had a doctor's appointment the next day, the car's still with the dealership, and in Motability have done the same thing. They've organised a taxi for them to get to that appointment, get back home. So they're still mobile, albeit without their own vehicle, but then they're ready the next day and away they go. So it's, it's because it is very stressful, because you're thinking, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, and your life's very, very planned around a number of different things. So it's knowing that if something does go wrong, Motability have got your back, you've got the RAC to look after you, and then if they can't do what they did in your instance, then at least you've got a taxi.
Exactly. And if anybody watching this today is unsure as to what to do, the best thing to do is just to phone us, get in contact. We're not some big bad that's going to cause you a problem. Pick up the phone, and I know you laugh when I say it, but I meet a lot of customers face to face at some of our events and things like that when we were allowed to be out and about and meeting people, and a lot of them will struggle with an issue for a long period of time because they're unsure about speaking to us about it. And I think if anything, just pick up the phone. We're a friendly bunch of people. The dealers will tell you the same thing. Give us a ring. Let's sort it out. And between ourselves, your dealership, and us, we will, and yourself, we'll come up with the best solution for you. Just never be afraid to pick up the phone.
And it's great because you have, I deal a lot with Motability operations on the phone, and it's the same people I deal with regularly. There's I don't want to name names, but there's a girl actually got married to another guy in the office, and I'd been speaking to the two of them independently, and it was funny because they've been on answering the phone to me for 5-6 years. So they are a very, very friendly bunch of people. They're there and they're dedicated, and they're here in the UK as well. Because you don't have a language barrier. It's just easy and simple, and it's not a horrible robotic process.
Exactly.
To look after you and get you happy and get you mobile. So.
Brilliant. What other questions you got for me then, Colin?
Well, I think because you did such a brilliant presentation up front, I've got loads of questions written down.
So we've covered them all.
And you've done a terrific job. Now we have in the background a couple of people, I mean, one Lindsay that works for the John Clark Motor Group, and then just equally one Lindsay that works for Motability. So they might type some questions into the chat.
You never know.
Let's have a wee look, see if anything pops up.
But also, I mean, this is the first of many, and I think once we start people watching, they know they can contact you on that hashtag. What was that again, Colin?
It was hashtag AskJC Motability.
There you go. So once we start getting more questions on that, I think we're definitely going to move forward with that. I think, we quite often have questions and things going forward. So, I think we've just had a question pop
We
up.
have actually, and you know what? I had that one written down, didn't read it out. But thanks, Lindsay Mackey from Motability. What happens at the end of the lease? What options do you have?
I mean, there's lots of options there, but I mean, ultimately, like me, as I've done in the past, a lot of customers will simply want to move into another vehicle, and it couldn't be simpler. What will happen is they'll actually receive communication from Motability Operations 3 months before the end of the contract, just to say now's the time to start looking for your vehicle. And we'll encourage them to phone you guys up, make an appointment, and come in, have a look on the website, get an idea of what cars they're going to look for. Now, let's say, for example, that customer's driving a Mini, as we've talked about Mini, and they want to move into the Skoda, as we've talked about Skoda. And a lot of customers are a bit unsure as to what happens in that circumstance. They would literally drive their old vehicle to the new supplying dealer, leave their old vehicle there, and drive away in the new one. So it's very seamless, taken care of. Now, I think one of the major things that a lot of people are, I'm sure, talking to you about it, Colin, and a lot of the dealerships at the moment, the lead times on the vehicles are quite high because of the circumstances currently. But this is one of the beauties of the scheme. If you're in a car with us at the moment and you go into a dealership and you order a car, let's say you've got a couple of months left on your 3-year contract, and your dealer says to you, it's going to be 6 months until that car is going to be ready. That isn't a problem. As soon as the dealer does the application and gives a date when that car is aiming to be ready, we will automatically extend your lease, extend your insurance, extend all the cover to keep you in your existing car and keep you mobile until the day you change over in the new one. So ultimately, what we're looking for is at no point will you be without that transport.
And the other thing about that as well is we're going to MOT the car. So as a dealership, we'll MOT your current car. So anything that makes it unsafe, unroadworthy, illegal will be replaced and funded by Motability. No cost to you, no worries to you. The vehicle's back roadworthy and road legal, and you've still got all the full backup from Motability as well.
Totally.
The car's in fantastic condition. So
that's it. So nobody has anything to worry about in that respect. They know they can take care of things and everything's okay. So yeah, there's no problem at all there. Okay, we've had
another question.
Another question there.
Would he be able to drive my car if I was unable to?
Yes, certainly. I mean, there's a couple of restrictions there in regard to the insurance group of the vehicle and also the brake horsepower of the vehicle. But the beauty of it is you can actually select all those for drivers under 25. You can actually select on the Motability website when you're looking through the vehicles. So if you've got a younger driver, it's not a problem. You can select that and it shows all the vehicles that are appropriate. Obviously, because there is an insurance implication for a younger driver, but also what we want to do is make sure we're keeping everybody safe. We're not putting a younger driver into what could be considered an overpowered vehicle for what could be the first time they've driven that kind of vehicle. So it is very important that they get that support. So yes, younger drivers can, but there is a limited range of vehicles that they can go for.
But I mean, it's not that limited though. Again, I had a look and you select that, on the right-hand side of the menu, under 25, and there's some fantastic vehicles as well.
Totally. There's hundreds to choose from. So, it's great.
So yeah, there's another one from the other Lindsay, from John Clark this time. So this has been one, and again, you're right, Lindsay, this comes up quite a lot, So maybe if the person's new to scheme and they're already driving a vehicle, can they trade that in against the Motability vehicle? And absolutely, I'll take this from a dealer point of view. We're always looking for used cars. So if you've got a used car and you're driving it and you're new to the Motability scheme, we'll buy your car off you and we'll pay you the money for it. Now, if you've got finance on it, obviously we'll settle the finance and pay you any balance that's left over. But if you own the car outright, we'll just pay you direct for the car, and you can use that towards your advance payment or whatever you want to do, a wee holiday. We'll just happily buy the car off you, so you don't need to worry about that either. We'll just give you money.
I think that's amazing peace of mind, because then that customer has got to worry about selling it privately. It's all taken care of, and ultimately, what could happen is that the the advance payments are covered. They've got a bit of extra money in their pocket, and they're going away with a brand new car. So can't go wrong with that, really, can you?
Well, everyone's a winner.
Definitely.
Right. Have the Lindsay's got any more questions for us, you think?
I think we've put them on the spot, to be honest. So we've had some great questions. So that was 3 great questions, and ultimately we don't want to go on too long. Obviously, we don't want to make any video too long. So there we go.
Lindsay's got one, kind of get an adapted vehicle from John Clark. Again, it's a John Clark question, so I'll take it. Yeah, we've actually got an adaptation partner, and these are specialists in because we're in Scotland. These guys are based in Glasgow, and it's a family-run business, and they come up and they're terrific. So they'll come up and they'll actually speak to you direct, find out what type of adaptations you need, make some recommendations to you. They fabricate the adaptations in-house, and then they come and they fit them at the dealership, and they actually do a separate handover with you on the adaptations. So they'll come and they'll go through all of that with you at the point of handover. So they're an absolute pleasure to work with. Stuart, who works for them, he's hilarious. So he doesn't need any adaptations whatsoever, but he loves driving the adapted vehicles with a joystick because he's a gamer. So he'll drive up to Aberdeen in this vehicle on a joystick just so he can show customers, what they've got. So they've got a number of demonstration vehicles that they bring when they're coming up to assess your needs to show you what's possible.
I think the one thing to consider, I drive with hand controls myself, and when it comes to having adaptations fitted, again, nothing could be simpler. Obviously, the dealership, you'll select what needs to be fitted, customer will let you know, and then that order is done by your partner there. And a lot of these adaptations, we have what's called the Motability Managed Adaptation Scheme, and we will actually offset these costs. So, for example, a push-pull hand control that I have with an indicator switch mounted on it and a steering ball, the combined cost of those, if you were doing it privately, normally is somewhere between £900 to £1,000 for both of those fitted to a vehicle. Whereas through the scheme, when you put in that application, that's all taken care of, covered the cost by Motability, so 0 cost to the customer. And there are a lot of adaptations that can be fitted that may be more expensive than that, but again, we would still manage them through the scheme, and we might not be able to cover them outright, but we will certainly offset that cost, and you will get it cheaper through the scheme than if you were buying it privately. And I think one of the things that the scheme has evolved into with this managed side of things is previously, back in the day when I was getting my first car on the scheme at the age of 16, my first, a Ford Fiesta I had my hand controls fitted, but at that point the whole situation was different. I would have to come and see you as a dealer, the car would be ordered, then I'd have to go and see an adaptation supplier, arrange for that to be fitted, and then it was down to me to sort that out and marry the two together. Whereas now that's all taken care of for the customer between yourselves, the dealer, and the local fitter. So on the day you pick up the car, whatever you need is all ready to go. And I think that's fantastic. Again, it's all about that customer-centric outlook.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it really well at the beginning. The customer's the asset, not the car, and that's the key attitude on it.
Totally.
But as you said, Chris, we don't like to take up everybody's time today, and I think there
will be more. So yeah, it's they'll probably get sick of our faces, Colin. That's for fair.
I'm sure it's more likely mine than yours, is what I say. But yeah, so listen, folks, I really appreciate you coming along, paying attention today. Happy to answer any questions you have on that hashtag AskGC Motability, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate Chris's time from Motability and the 2 Lindsays in the backgrounds feeding us with questions. It's been terrific. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
Definitely, very soon.